Welcome to Hip Hop Movie Club, the show that harmonizes the rhythm of hip hop with the magic of movies. Today we're discussing episode 4 of the 2019 Wu-Tang Clan documentary Of Mics and Men. We're three old heads who put their old heads together to vibe on these films for you. I'm Dino Wright, podcaster, filmmaker, longtime hip hop fan, and I still have my enhanced CD version of Wu-Tang Forever.
Nice. I'm JB, 80s and 90s nostalgia junkie, longtime hip hop fan. I had never heard of Cilvaringz before watching this episode.
The Cilvaringz.
I'm Boogie, a DJ, longtime hip hop fan, and one of my favorite hip hop albums of all time is Iron Man by Ghostface Killah. I still have that copy of my from '96 in my CD book outside right now.
In this episode, we'll answer the question, did cash rule everything around them? And please hit that subscribe button down below so you won't miss an episode.
In episode 4 of Mics and Men, we see the group reflecting on 25 years together in the hip hop game, as well as conflicts over finances and family dynamics.
Here are 5 things you need to know about episode 4 of Mics and Men. Number 1, reflection. The crew reflects on 25 years together. Number 2, financial disputes. The profits from the crew's solo albums cause strains in trust among members, as well as the dominance of the Wu-Tang Clan as a collective. Number 3, Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, a unique marketing ploy in which RZA enabled Cilvaringz to produce a single copy of a secret, unreleased album. It caused great controversy. Number 4, life is short. We see a theme of appreciating the blessings that life has afforded the Wu-Tang Clan. And number 5, family. Through the entire journey, the Wu-Tang Clan has been a family and support system for one another.
All right, first off, reflection. You see the Wu-Tang Clan in the theater there in Staten Island, reflecting on 25 years together. They're also talking over a nice family dinner. It was an unlikely journey, ups and downs along the way. Their families grew, trials and tribulations, which we'll get to. They hit apex, as we talked about in the last episode. They were making, like, in Times Square in 2000, they were the star of the show. They had like $50 million of profits coming in around that time, multiple platinum and gold artists. So, like I said, unlikely rise to fame. And they sustained it. I mean, they're touring this year, and they are still insanely popular. Boogie, you want to talk a little about how they reflected on their unlikely journey?
Yeah, so the one thing that I definitely enjoyed seeing was the fact that despite everything, the ups and downs, they were all able to sit down and have a family-style dinner together. And it looks like, RZA was pleased with that as well, because one of the things he mentioned was that, the Wu-Tang Productions, the company that remained with him while everyone else had their solo careers, was doing so well. And he wanted to make good on, getting everybody kind of caught up, making sure that everybody was taken care of, talking through some of the things, some of the differences that they had throughout the years, different conflicts that they had. And it was good to see that. They've been through a lot together. They've known each other pre-Wu-Tang Clan. A lot of them grew up together. They were, cousins throughout the crew. So it was just good to see that. I know one of the quotes that, RZA said, contemplation, reflecting on your past is better than praying. And I said, wow, I never heard that. But when you think about it, it's like, yeah, you see where you come from, and you're able to make changes throughout your life to move forward. So if you're able to do that, you can overcome a lot. And I was good to see that. I do like seeing a flashback, talking about the logo creation, mathematics. Man, mathematics knew back then what he knew now.
Only $400.
Yeah, RZA paid
$400 for that iconic logo.
Yeah, RZA paid him $400 for the logo. I mean, it was a legit sale, but man, did that logo take off. But it's like I said, it was just good to see that.
Dino, right? Anything to add on the reflection aspect?
Yeah, as I was watching this, I was thinking, the Wu-Tang Clan's like a super group in reverse. Like most super groups you think of, they were built from other bands, like other bigger bands, and then some members come and make a new super group. But these guys were a group already, turned into these huge solo acts, and then once in a while they come back together in this like Wu-Tang supergroup, and I thought that was kind of funny. You don't really see that in other musical groups or bands or things like that. So I thought that was kind of funny. They're definitely different.
Oh yeah.
A lot of times with those boy bands, it's just one star shines above the other as a soloist, like Justin Timberlake, right?
Yeah.
Out of NSYNC, he became the megastar. Other guys tried to come out with the solo albums, and then like didn't. And then like One Direction, right? A couple guys had a solo, but there's always one that like takes off, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, everybody, so many of these guys were like just singular sensation.
Yeah. Multiple albums.
Right.
They have multiple albums.
Multiple gold or platinum albums.
Yeah.
Like I said, that was very unique.
Yeah, consistently good material.
Right. But with all the success, turmoil, as we talked about, as an underlying theme throughout this series, and there's a lot more talk about financial disputes in this one, because as those solo careers take off, it caused some strain amongst the members because, again, they want to get their albums done. They have Wu-Tang to uphold as a collective, and there's a lot of conflict that happens because of that. I mean, they mentioned, I don't know, was RZA, I think, was saying each artist was ultimately signed away from Wu-Tang Productions. That's $40 million worth of artists. That's not really good business practice. That put into a dent into the value of the franchise. And then more and more turmoil, pops up because of that. You guys want to discuss a little bit further about that? But
yeah, ultimately, I mean, in the beginning, Divine didn't want to let the guys sign away from the crew. As you just mentioned, it is bad for business. Like, you're devaluing your company, your business, and your profits by letting your key players go off and do their own thing. But RZA also agree with that. He's like, yeah, it's not good for business, but on the flip side, you don't want to keep them on the Wu-Tang Productions if they didn't want to be held. Like, it's like you don't want to keep them against their will. So I mean, ultimately, he did, let them sign off and have their own solo careers outside of Wu-Tang Productions. Divine was upset. He's like, I'm losing $10 million a year from this. Like, it's insane. Like, but can't do anything about it. I mean, Capadonna talked about an issue that he ended up having where he signed an initial $150,000 publisher's check, and he was supposed to receive a $50,000 bonus when his album The Pillage went gold. Coincidentally, The Pillage went gold. Well, according to Capadonna, the album went gold in 2 weeks. So Divine is saying, no, the album didn't necessarily get certified gold in those 2 weeks, but we shipped out the numbers, but it didn't actually sell those numbers yet. But he said, no, you know what? Because it's turning into a big dispute. He said, I just paid him right away. And, it was that killed that issue. But he's also saying, hey, because each one of these guys have their own managers. Is now I got to split my profits with these new managers. Because it's putting a strain on my pockets. Ultimately, start seeing guys. Method Man's like, hey, talking about how everybody became tired of the business side of things. Like, yeah, we're still Wu-Tang, we're still the crew, we still get along, but the business side of things, everybody was kind of getting tired of it. And even Mook was like, yeah, everything, that happened to the crew, that happened to them was because of them. Everybody wanted to do their own thing. And, RZA had that plan where, he wanted everybody to kind of be aligned to put their albums out, but now everybody's ready to put out another album, and you got people that haven't even put one out yet. A lot of animosity created.
At that point, to answer our question, cash did rule everything around then, right? Some people say money is the root of all evil, and without those financial concerns, they wouldn't probably have the strife, right? Because you got to get paid, you got to feed your family. How does it all get divided evenly?
Yeah.
A lot of chaos ensued there. We always see Divine on a yacht, every single scene, right? He's always on his yacht.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk about that, right?
Right.
Well, he left and never came back.
He's sailing the
world. He made that point. After he and Ghostface had it out, he bounced.
But he also invested in real estate. Remember, he said he was buying properties every year, and he wanted to get the guys in on that, and not everybody followed suit. Because they could own blocks and blocks within Staten Island which would have been worth mega bucks these days. So he was smart. He was smart with his money.
Yeah, he did well. He did well. Like he invested that money. He definitely did well. I mean, yeah, you're not getting the 10 million here and there, but you're not poor by any means.
Yeah. And then another source of controversy, big source, was the Once Upon a Time in Shaolin album, which was a unique marketing ploy in which RZA worked with this guy Cilvaringz, who popped on the scene when they were doing like a European leg of a tour, or like, kind of like Wu-Tang Europe. And they ended up producing this single copy of a secret unreleased album that they just kind of like put in a vault and then eventually auctioned off. But there was controversy behind it because the crew, a lot of them didn't really understand what was going on. They're like agreed to be recorded for certain little snippets or outtakes as soloists, but they didn't realize that it was going to be produced for that reason. So yeah, that became a kind of lightning rod of controversy. Dynamite, you want to kind of speak a little bit about that aspect?
Sure. It was kind of an odd kind of situation that there wasn't a lot of communication about what was happening, and you don't have the lack of communication. And it really came to head here. And this so-called pharma bro, Martin Shkreli, swoops in and wins the auction to buy the album for, was it million?
2 million.
2 million? 2 million. Karma gets him in the end because he goes to jail for securities fraud, not because of anything for the album, but people were happy to see him get his just desserts. I think there was a lot of Schadenfreude happening there. But actually, the album itself, no one's heard it other than a few people. But I think it encapsulates the whole Wu-Tang story in itself. Like, some of it's good, some of it was bad. It's kind of a mixed bag. And Cilvaringz, we're not quite sure. RZA's boy, he's like affiliate number one out of like a zillion affiliates of the Wu-Tang Clan. So yeah, I wonder what Cilvaringz is doing now.
Yeah, he toured the pyramids with him in Egypt. He took a liking to him, and he gave him that type of authority. I think it's an interesting marketing idea if it's done the right way, right? It would be cool if all these artists had something like that. That would be it's like a treasure, but if it's done and crafted the right way with everybody's buy-in, and you have that one copy, that's pretty incredible. Like, let's say you're a fan of Metallica or something like that, and then they have this one copy of this unreleased album, and it's just like done with the same type of rigor and involvement, and it's like, wow, I have this gem, right?
I'm shocked they haven't done it already.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
They can complain about Lars Ulrich's drum tone on that too.
Exactly. Just an example. I don't know why.
Bro, what's up with your drums?
Metallica, but yeah, like artists like that, like your favorite artists. If you were wealthy, you can bid on that. But this was so odd. It was almost like worst case scenario with this shady character winning it. He was the CEO of Turing, like you said, pharma bro, but he was so greedy. He raised the price of his HIV medication, which was really needed by a lot of folks, from like $13.50 to like $750 a pill. So like he was public enemy number one in the media. It was all over the news. But now his name is associated with the Wu-Tang Clan because he got that record. Even so, kind of stained their name a little bit. But on the other hand, some people say, that there's no such thing as bad publicity. So like the fact that their name got out there after, in the media every day about this album, that kind of helped a little bit as well. So again,
no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think the court ended up confiscating that album.
Right. So where is it right now? I don't know. Is it owned by the state? Like who owns it?
Yeah, I lost track of it. I was keeping up with it for a while, but I'm like, I lost track of it. But yeah, that whole situation was just crazy. I mean, like I think like RZA, Cilvaringz, he took a liking to him because he seemed like he was hungry. And he was interested in how, RZA's production skills, because RZA, top-notch producer, like probably one of the he tried to imitate RZA, and according to some members, the album is trash. To quote Ghostface, the album is trash. It's not a Wu-Tang album. But even the way it went about it, like he's contacting the members, and he's asking them to if he can, get some rhymes from them. And they're basically out of good faith because he's probably name dropping the RZA, or hey, RZA's mentioned, asking them fucking, we can get these together. Yeah, no problem, yeah. Because most MCs, or most writers, they have books and books upon of stuff. They probably say, hey, I can give you something real quick. Hey, let me give you something real quick. And for him to go and record the album and just kind of basically he Franken produced an album. But I kind of get where he was coming from with the exclusivity of the album, comparing it to like an artist like Michelangelo or Rembrandt or something with a painting or something from one of those guys. He said, all right, why can't music do the same thing and have like an exclusive? So I get where his head was at in that aspect, but to go and do it the way he did it without letting the guys know was very shady. And I can understand them being upset. I mean, this guy, he's very lucky that things didn't escalate further than them just being upset, because let's be real. You're from the hood. You got people that you were still associated with. You might not be about that anymore because you're still doing stuff legitimately, but people in the neighborhood like, yo, you dissed my boy. You played my boy out. You got him for some money. Like, things like that can happen. But yeah, that whole scenario with like the Daraprim is just raising the price like that was he just gouged unnecessarily. Like, these are some of the most vulnerable people in our population. Without that, who knows what could happen to them, besides death. And like, it's crazy, like, to do that. He deserves every bit of karma that he gets.
For the record, a group that sells NFTs bought the record, and so they're the legal holder of it at the moment.
Okay.
So they took it and resold it. Nice.
So they have this arrangement where you can buy for $1 an NFT of this non-fungible token on this album, but it pushes the release date back like 88 seconds or something. That's this thing where you pay for it, but then it doesn't get out into the public until later. But you get a 5-minute sample of it. Is that all you get for your money?
Interesting.
It's funny because as we were talking about other groups maybe trying to emulate that, I was thinking it has to be a digital copy these days because not a lot of people have the players to play like a DVD or a CD, right? How you got it. But it's like a fossil artifact these days when you see some of those. But how do you keep a digital thing hidden? Interesting that an NFT company bought that and they're trying to somehow digitize a stake in it or something like that.
Yeah, they monetize stakes in it. Yeah.
Well, at least Public Enemy #1 doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah. He does have like a physical. He does have the music. Last year he was live streaming it on X against the wishes of the owner, the current owner, and so there was a court order to stop that. Kind of a mess.
And on to the fourth takeaway: life is short. We see a theme where RZA's philosophy impacts the rest of the Wu-Tang Clan, and talking about like appreciating the blessings. I like the one quote where they said, like, when you're 85, that's a short 85. No matter what you say, like, that's a short time frame. So kind of enjoy life.
Yeah.
So I like that piece. Anything more about, life is short? That was like a theme they mentioned a couple of times.
Yeah. They just talked a lot about the economic conditions and, some of the racial tensions that kind of just made them want more from life. And like, you think about it, 25 years in one group, being affiliated group it's a long time in a group, but 25 years goes by really, really quickly. I did like one part about when I showed you God reflecting. He's reflecting on time and talking about how precious time is, and he's actually sitting down in his studio and he's reading excerpts from his book. That was pretty cool to see. Like, and I always like you God because he kind of played the background a lot, but I was glad to see that they gave him a lot of screen time in this because he had a lot to say, and it was just good to see that, he was able to talk about some of his background and things that have affected him throughout life. Same with Capadonna and doing the same, just being able to reflect. Because Capadonna, I remember the first time he popped up on the scene, I was like, whoa, where'd that guy come from? Like, wait a minute. Like, because he's a lyrical beast. And then he just was like on everything. After he just came, watching the documentary saying like he came back from jail and he was hungry and they just threw him right in the mix. Like gave him a check. Like here you go, get in there. Just seeing him reflect as well. Talking about life and it's a good thing.
It kind of put things in perspective. Like maybe people were shortchanged here and there, but where they came from and where they are now, and what they've been afforded over the years through hip hop and through this group, been beyond expectations.
And we learned that Master Killer is related to Marvin Gaye.
Yes,
that was should be public knowledge.
Yeah.
And a direct descendant of Nat Turner.
Nat Turner, yeah.
My goodness, what a Venn diagram this is.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue to the final takeaway, which was family. Like throughout the entire journey, they remained a family. Whether some of them were blood related, several were not, but it was like they're a support system for each other, and they've been through so much together with facing abhorrent racism, struggles trying to break into the industry, being a unique crew with such large members, the passing of ODB, the fact that they're now having that dinner and reflecting, it's that strength in the unity of family. So it's just remarkable to see when you have that kind of bond, it's stronger than all the strife. It's kind of like they can overcome because they have that support system, it's just truly wonderful to see.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Divine and RZA are brothers. Jizza is their cousin. ODB is their cousin. ODB and Jizza are cousins. Like, wow. It's like, that's kind of crazy. Divine was best friends with Raekwon growing up. It was kind of sad, though, that you can still, and you can see that it hurt him when he was talking about it, though, was that, after Raekwon released his solo album, Only Built for Cuban Links, him and Divine lost communication, and they weren't as close and tight-knit as they used to be. So maybe somewhere down the line they can reconcile. And I love, like, Master Killer was sitting with his father, and his father was dropping some knowledge, He would drop some jewels, like, play the hand that's been dealt to you. As long as you hold the cards and in game, you still have a chance to win. That was nice. Like, don't give up. Don't put the cards down. You still got cards. You still got a shot at it. And I think you see where Master Killer got that from his dad, and it's like, yeah, you keep pushing. Even Divine talking about his mother. RZA's mom said, "Boy, you can take life two ways. You can take it the smart way, or you can take it the wise way." And so we know that a smart man learns from his own mistakes, but a wise man learns from other people's mistakes. So be wise.
That was deep.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, wow.
Yeah, that was profound. The family aspect is endearing to me because it grew organically. Like, they started out as friends and family members first, and that was the basis of it. It wasn't like they were formed by a producer. It was the anti-producer. Like, we're doing it our way. We mentioned DIY early on, and they did it their way. And to this day, they stand out because of that.
Yep. You can't fake what it. You can't fake what they had. The chemistry, you can't fake it.
All right. So just like any family, they have their quarrels, big fights, tension, but through it all, blood is thicker than water. So there they are, and again, we're touring this year and continue to celebrate the greatness.
It's funny that I was listening to Hot 97. I think it was last week, and they were talking about Wu-Tang Clan, and they were saying how they this isn't it. They're not. This isn't it. They're still young. They were throwing out all of these rock bands that are much older than these guys. 20, 30 years older, and they're still going on tour. At some point, some guys, you say, "Oh yeah, this is my final performance," and then 10 years down the line, 15 years down, it's like they get the itch again, and they get back in them. Oh, we one for one night only. So it's like, yeah, they're not done. There's no way they're going to be done after this. They're going to probably sit around, and then maybe next year they're going to come out with another album, or 5 or 10 years from now they're going to go on another tour because they're going to get lonely and want to go perform again. But it was kind of funny. I was laughing. I was like, yeah, please hope that's the case. Please let that be the case. Let's get another Wu-Tang album, not Cilvaringz produced, but get an authentic RZA album.
I saw Kiss in 2000 on their Farewell tour, and I've seen it twice after that.
Yeah,
so.
Right.
25 years ago.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of artists that say the farewell. Like I swear, Elton John farewell tour I heard so many times, and then he just keeps popping back up.
Yep.
Farewell for now.
For now.
Yeah.
If it is a real final tour for real, we got so much out of them. We got a lot of great music from them and entertainment for sure.
That's true.
Hip Hop Movie Club is produced by your HHMCs, JB, Boogie, and Dino Wright. Theme music by Boogie. Join us on April 24th at the Frank Banco Ale House Cinemas in Steel Stacks, Bethlehem, PA, for a screening of Hustle and Flow in 4K, starring Terrence Howard and Ludacris. Tickets at steelstacks.org. As always, check out our full live event schedule on our website, hiphopmovieclub.com. Thanks for watching the Hip Hop Movie Club show. Ring the bell so you get notified when we post new content. It's the sound of a power-up for us, so thank you. If you enjoyed this episode, there's more where that came from. Hit that thumbnail, it's about to come on the screen.
And remember, don't hate, dominate.
Dominate. Wu-Tang.
Mm-hmm.
And they definitely dominated for a while, too. They were everywhere. They still are.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.